Hello and welcome back to The Dose. My name is Exonovant. A lot of you guys know that I moved back home here recently to North Carolina, and it's just brought back a ton of childhood memories, teenage memories, things that I miss. You know what I'm saying? And I thought I would I'm definitely doing this episode today, but I may do more in the future if you guys like this sort of thing. But I wanted to talk about shapes on paper. And I have that in quotes in the title because that is what was told to me when I went into middle school. And let me go ahead and give you guys some context. So I moved back home here recently to North Carolina, and I'm probably 10-15 minutes away from my old elementary school, my old middle school, my old high school. You know, seeing old families and family and friends and stuff like that just brought back a lot of memories. So I thought about this the other day. Shapes on paper just popped into my head, and I was like, I remember the first time that was said to me. And I'm talking about art. I'm talking about drawing. I love drawing. I've been drawing since I would say that the first true picture that I drew, and I'm not talking about like a picture that you put on like the refrigerator type picture in crayon. I'm talking about like an actual picture. I remember drawing a shark. It was a shark. Maybe I could find an image. If I do, I'll put it up on the screen, but I may not be able to find it. But it was on some kind of, I think it was called a Trapper Keeper back in the day. It was a shark, and I drew it, and I thought it was just amazing. And I remember me and my brother thought it was amazing. And he might can comment below too. I remember we were at my aunt's house, and I drew it. We were just both fascinated by it, and we tried to sell it at school for 50 cents. And I honestly can't remember if somebody bought it or not. But even at that age, I guess I was trying to make that like a business or turn it into something. And I was fascinated by it. And then after that, I started drawing more stuff. I drew Mega Man characters. And if you guys know Mega Man for the NES, love that. Drew all the characters for Mega Man, okay, all of them. I would buy these 50 page like spiral bound drawing pads and stuff like that, and I'd fill them up. I eventually drew the entire cast of the Mortal Kombat 2 game. I drew the entire cast of Street Fighter 2. I mean, I was in it. I was drawing any kind of cartoon, Thundercats. I mean, G.I. Joe. I was all in. My brother can tell you guys in the comments. I loved it. I loved it. And I was never taught, ever. I just picked it up and drew. Now, one thing I could not do was draw freehand, meaning I could not think of an object in my own brain and draw it from my mind. I had to be looking at a picture. And I remember going into middle school and in art class. We actually had an art class, and I was pumped because I was like, man, I'm going to go in here and be the king, son. And I got in there and I realized that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. I was a good artist, but God, there was some people in there that were geniuses. They could draw out of their head. You know what I mean? They could think of a character that nobody had ever seen before, not on a cartoon, not on a video game, and they could draw that sucker. And I couldn't do it. And that just frustrated the mess out of me, dude. I couldn't handle it, right? I said, I have to know how these people have this magical gift to be able to pull an image out of their brain, where I have to have something that I'm looking at, right? So I remember going to my teacher after class, and I said, you got to explain to me. You got to hit me up with some knowledge, bro. Like, how did that dude over there? Because basically what we did is we drew a bunch of stuff in the first week of class or whatever, and kind of just showed it to our teacher so he would know where we were in terms of our art. And so that whole week I was just frustrated. So I went to him and I said, how did, Joe Blow do that and Johnny do that and Jill do that? How did that happen? How are they just, because they weren't looking at anything, And he was encouraging us not to look at anything. And he hit me with the truth, man. He hit me with something that I have not truly thought about until a couple of days ago. He said, it's nothing but shapes on paper. That's it. He says, and all they're doing is instead of looking at a sheet of paper or a comic book or a video game character beside them in the physical space, like on a desk, and they're looking at that, They're just imagining those same shapes on paper in their head, and they're drawing from their mind and not from something that they're looking at. And that's it. And even though you would think that I would know that already, and that's a very simple concept, I had never thought about it that way because I had never tested myself before, because the first picture I drew, I looked at something and I just thought, well, that's how you do it. You look at things and you draw whatever you see. It's simple. It's like if you walk with the cane your whole life and then now all of a sudden you don't have to walk with the cane. You're still walking. You're still doing the same movements, but you're not relying on something that you've always relied on. And I want to get back into it. I miss the simplicity of it. And what's crazy is that when I used to draw characters like Mega Man and Street Fighter characters and stuff like that, those are some complex things to draw. But it's just shapes. Like when you break down a Street Fighter character or a Mega Man character or any character, right? And don't look at it as the total package, but look at it as shapes. Like, what shape is this finger? What shape is this gun? You know, it's got a rectangular shape and this has got a circular shape. And it's really about making those shapes become something that they're not really intended to be on their own. Like a circle is not intended to be a Street Fighter character, right? But a circle does create the basic shape for certain things on that character. And so you break it down that way. And I've always found that to be very complex and very simple at the same time. And when he hit me with that truth, it stuck with me. I've said all that to say this. I'm going to get back into art. You guys know that I wrote a book and I got robbed and lost the book. It was on my laptop. I didn't have a backup for it. And so it was 400 and some odd pages long and I lost it. And a lot of you guys have encouraged me to go back and write it. And I will eventually when I find the time. But I'm definitely going to find the time to get back into art and kind of, I'm going to draw some stuff that I can look at, but I'm also going to try to draw some stuff that's in my head, because the book that I wrote, I do see it in my brain. Like I see the characters and I see the environments and I see it and I know what it should look like. And I guess I could give that off to an artist and have them render it for me, or I could challenge myself to maybe try to do it on my own. Maybe I can't, but you try. So I'm definitely going to get back into art, and you guys know I freelance, so I may even try to turn it into a way to generate some extra income, because as a freelancer, you do whatever it takes to earn your living. You don't ever say I'm only this or I only do that. No, son, you do anything you need to do to not have to punch a clock on a 9-to-5 basis. That's what you do. So I'm definitely interested in doing that as well. And I've got some more of these stories I can tell you guys if you're interested, because there's a lot of things that I thought about in the last couple of days about simple things that I miss, and maybe I can share those with you guys too if you want. Let me know in the comments what you think about these kind of topics for the dose, because they're a part of who I am and I love to share that with you guys. But let me know. I'll see you guys in the comments. Be good.